Radio.
Great, guys.
An unrefined podcast for the everyman. Guess what we're going to talk about tonight, or today, or this morning, wherever you are? We're going to talk about the best of 90s cartoons. Liarz, this was your topic, buddy. Take it away.
Yeah. Well, we kind of just stumbled onto it out of chance today when we were coming up with ideas for the show. And, you know, when we really think about it and when we go back and look, the 90s were really a golden age of cartoons. I mean, let's think about all of the animated series that came out. So we had The Simpsons starting. We had the early episodes of South Park, early episodes of Family Guy. From there, we got Futurama. Of course, don't forget Beavis and Butt-Head. And then we had probably one of the best series of all times, Batman, the animated series, Samurai Jack. We also had Teenage Mutant. Yes.
Quick correction. The Simpsons started in the late 80s.
True. Yeah, you're right. Yes, The Simpsons started in 1989. You are correct. And I would say it's pretty safe to call The Simpsons a 90s cartoon because that's when their golden era was. I know I've said golden era before, but that's when their real, when Conan O'Brien was involved and they had the classic episodes of The Simpsons were in the early 90s. And then, of course...
I'm not trying to step on you yet. I just want to make sure because you're a fucking Family Guy, and I was only on for maybe two before. But you haven't mentioned King of the Hill yet, so I'm hoping to get to... No, I'm going to...
King of the Hill. We cannot forget King of the Hill. Absolutely. I was gonna get to King of the Hill. King of the Hill is on where I live. It's on every day at like 4:00. I get home from work at 3, and I usually turn the TV on, do some housework, and clean up. And King of the Hill is always on. I always put it on. That is. It needs to be talked about in the same instance as The Simpsons, Family Guy, SpongeBob SquarePants, and then, of course, of the movie we just saw that I just put up from Ren and Stimpy. I mean, King of the Hill is up there with all of those cartoons. My personal favorite from that, I mean... It's so hard to say what my favorite is. I mean, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, DuckTales, Samurai Jack, Johnny Bravo, the Powerpuff Girls, all of these classic cartoons that we grew up on. It's hard to pick a favorite. I was a big Ren and Stimpy fan, and then I stumbled upon some today, and obviously watched a couple of clips, and I mean... It's a schizophrenic nightmare, but it's really funny.
Yeah, Ren, Stimpy. They were always like powdering each other's asses. That's what I remember. They always had like some kind of boil, like he'd have a boil on his ass or something, and then they'd be like manically like putting talcum powder on it or something. And they say like, yeah, joy.
Happy, joy. That was their song. The happy, joy song. Yeah.
Joy. Yeah, I sort of remember going around saying joy a lot. A bit like you say shit.
No, sir, I don't like it. The horse would always come in. No, sir, I don't like it. Like, Ren and Stimpy, man. It's hilarious.
It's psychotic, really. But like quite violent. Or
extremely violent.
They get put through like a meat grinder or something.
Yeah.
They taught me a valuable lesson.
What's that?
Don't take a whiz on the electric fence.
Don't whiz on the electric fence. If that's not ingrained in every kid's brain from the 90s that watched cartoons, that's all you have to say. And everybody knows everybody knows that jingle, and everybody knows that saying, don't whiz on the electric fence. Brilliant.
The 90s, to me, since I'm the only one that actually was a child in this conversation in the 90s.
Sure.
Like I was in elementary school. The 90s was a great time. You mentioned earlier this absolute prime years. I mean, you can argue that after the 90s ended is the Simpsons decline. Like as soon as you hit the year 2000 is when the Simpsons went to hell. I mean, we're talking season 10 and 11 right around then.
Sure.
Everyone agrees that's the decline. Yeah, King of the Hill, just perfection. You know, I think it only gets better with age. I know they're making a remake of it now, or not a remake, a reboot of it, where they're older, which I'm terrified to see because the actor who played Dale Gribble passed away. I really don't want to see an adult Bobby Hill. That's not anything I'm looking forward to. Family Guy, it's weird. I'm one of the few people that like think Family Guy is very overrated. But to me, like one of the things that doesn't really get noticed as much was that South Park came out in 1996 on HBO as a little like special. And then South Park just went on the full gear. It owned the late 90s. I mean, it was just the most raunchy, edgy thing on TV. Like it was part of 90s culture that like they just don't make cartoons like that anymore. If you really want to go further back, the 90s also spawned Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network here in the United States was amazing. We used to get things like Space Ghost, you know, Coast to Coast, where Space Ghost would be interviewing guests. And the actor who played Space Ghost recently passed away, but I really enjoyed Space Ghost. You also had,
Adventure Time?
Animaniac.
Is that later?
What?
Adventure Time?
Adventure Time?
I don't remember Adventure Time.
Maybe that's not 90s.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, buddy. You also had Animaniacs by Steven Spielberg back in the day. That was a real popular one. Batman, the animated series, was on at 5 o'clock where I lived. That was appointment television. You know, you get home from school, you do your homework, and, you know, maybe hang out with your buddies a little bit. But by 5 o'clock, your ass was home watching Batman, the animated adventure. You had the original X-Men cartoon series come out then. You had the Spider-Man cartoon show come out then. These are all just like the best of the best that could have come out at that time. You know, you guys are older than me, and I remember like I wasn't supposed to watch this with a kid, but I remember this is when Beavis and Butt-Head first came out. Liarz, I know you can go on about Beavis and Butt-Head, so please take it away.
Beavis and Butt-Head were, you know, to go along with the MTV generation. For those who don't know the synopsis of Beavis and Butt-Head, it was two metalhead kids and they watched music videos. So two very big things in the 90s were these cartoons and music videos. And I know we talked about music videos in a previous episode recently, and you know, they just don't make them like they used to. And Beavis and Butthead would sit on their couch and make these quips about these videos that were on, and it was just magic. It was so funny. And then of course, they had their movie Beavis and Butthead Do America. Everybody knows Cornholio and TP for my bunghole and all of that. You know, it's classic animation. And I have young kids at home, and watching TV is a little bit different now. They watch a lot on YouTube, and it's more of shows on YouTube as opposed to on cable TV or even regular TV. And I've noticed that even the animation it's all computer generated now, which is fine. It's just different, right, than what we're used to. These are all hand-drawn cells. So Beavis and Butthead, even The Simpsons, it's full on animation. It's full on digitization now, as opposed to the cells that they used to do back in the day. And it used to take months and months to produce one episode. And, you know, you could really get that feel, especially with Beavis and Butthead, because the animation was so it wasn't fluid. It was very, you know, it was very choppy, and it just provided this element that's missing in today's perfect society, right? And or perfect animation where everything is done by the computer. And Beavis and Butthead, like, these guys were your two degenerate kids that were fuck ups in high school, and they were wearing their Metallica shirts, and you know, they're just metalheads. And Beavis and Butthead Do America, their movie, was everybody. It's just so good. It's just such a good cartoon. And to go up against to be as memorable as it was when it's going up against The Simpsons, when it's going up against Family Guy, and even King of the Hill, to be as memorable as it was, and South Park, it means something.
Buddy, it wasn't going against Family Guy by any means or South Park. I mean, Beavis and Butthead was done by the mid 90s. By like 95, 96, Beavis and Butthead were long gone and over. They were I don't know the exact time. You can hop on Wikipedia and look, but I think they were like something from like 92 to probably 95 or 96. Because what happened, Mike Judge moved on and he made the movie Beavis and Butthead Do America, where you kind of get the first impression of the character of Hank Hill, because it's the Hank Hill voice, and he's on vacation with his wife to Washington, D.C. It's got Demi Moore and Bruce Willis in it, but Beavis and Butthead wasn't around as long as people think it was, but it made a giant cultural impact that just really can be not spoken of without, looking back and going, wow, that's impressive. Because, I mean, people always associate Beavis and Butthead with the 90s and breaking through on MTV.
Now, yeah, I remember, didn't Izzy Stradlin say that Axel and Izzy's life in Indiana was very Beavis and Butthead?
I believe he did. I believe you're right on that. It seems like a familiar quote.
Liarz, did you look up to see when Beavis and Butthead ran?
I haven't looked it up yet. I am in the middle of looking it up. Yeah.
What do you make of like Rick and Morty, or these are the ones that I think came after the 90s? That
just garbage.
Time and Rick and Morty. I've never seen.
I'm going to disagree with you, Brasky, on Rick and Morty. I think Rick and Morty is absolutely brilliant, and it's a throwback to the 90s cartoons. It doesn't look like a cartoon that's produced in 2025. It looks like a cartoon that was produced much earlier. And the stories, I mean, Rick and Morty is hilarious. I love Rick and Morty. Even as a 50-year-old man, I still love Rick and Morty.
Like I said, man, like sometimes in life, what I like and what other people like are just going to be different things. I don't get Rick and Morty. It doesn't appeal to me at all. It's something for a younger generation than me, and I'm okay with that. I'm getting older, and, doesn't mean I got to keep up with the times. I'll be that grumpy old man yelling at the crowds. Did you get the information on Beavis and Butthead yet?
It's saying here that it was 1993 to 2011.
I think they're counting when they came back.
Yeah, I think so too.
Do you know what I mean? Like where they did like the reboot and they came back. I think it was on like Spike TV or even MTV for a few years. But like, what was the original run?
There we go. Yeah, it ended in 1997. The network commissioned a full series, which over its 7th season became its most popular program. So it was the most popular program on MTV, and it ended in 1997 and has been twice rebooted, for the first time in 2011 for MTV and again in 2022 for Paramount Plus.
Gotcha. You know what was awesome? What came on after Beavis and Butthead? Because you had Speed Racer, and then you had Aeon Flux, which if you're a young boy and you're starting to realize you're a young man, and Aeon Flux comes on, and Aeon Flux was just this hot animated chick wearing nothing but skimpy outfits with giant tits. Just with guns and swords. It was like, well, what the hell is this about?
Not to be confused with the, was it Charlize Theron that did the movie?
Yeah, she did the movie, but fuck the movie. We're talking cartoons here, pal.
Yeah, we're talking a cartoon here, yeah.
And another cartoon that came out in the 90s that I really liked that most people didn't watch, and it was Claymation. You originally had Wallace and Gromit, but then they had a show called The PJs with Eddie Murphy, which was really good. It was about the projects in New York, and I really enjoyed The PJs.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was an Eddie Murphy one. It was on Fox. It was on their animation domination block before they called it that. It would be on, I believe, after The Simpsons. It was a good show. I enjoyed that one. I mentioned Animaniacs already. Let's see what else we got here that we're probably glossing over ones. Which, audience, please let us know what your favorite is, what we're glossing over, what we're missing, because there's so much that happened in the 90s for cartoons.
BoJack Horseman, is that from the 90s or is that more recent?
Are you on crack?
Isn't it BoJack?
More recent.
Yeah, dude, that's like 10 years ago at most, maybe 15 years ago.
Everything seems like the 90s for me.
Yeah,
Time doesn't move forward. It's still 1996 to me. Peppa Pig.
Alcoholism is a beautiful thing, my friend.
the release date for BoJack Horseman is 2014, and it ran till 2020, so very recently and very recently.
Wasted.
1994. 1994.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
dude, I just thought of one.
What's that?
And if you guys don't like this, I don't give a shit. There's two that we haven't even mentioned. The Critic, which I loved with John Lovitz.
Yep.
That was amazing.
Yep.
From the Simpsons creators, but The Critic was amazing. And you know what the other one we're forgetting?
Tiny Toons.
Starring George Costanza himself. Duck.
I always loved Duckman's vanity plate. It's PSDOFF. Pissed off. It was just fucking brilliant. I love it.
Tell us
What a
about
sh-
Duckman, Liarz.
What's that?
Tell us about Duckman.
Well, like you said, Duckman was voiced by none other than George Costanza. What the hell's his Jason Alexander in real life? He was a private dick family man, commonly known as Duckman. It was an American sitcom. Came out in 1994 and ran for 4 seasons, it looks like, and finished in 1997. It's basically this paranoid duck, a widowed, self-hating, egocentric, anthropomorphic duck who lives with his family in Los Angeles. And he works as a private detective. You can just imagine the shenanigans that this duck got into. Great show. Great show. Ran for 70 episodes, so it did have a good run. And yeah, you know what? Wait, Brasky, good find on that one. Very underrated and often forgotten cartoon of the 90s, Duckman.
We're also forgetting about Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other is insane. They're Pinky. They're Pinky and the Brain.
Right. I think Pinky and the Brain was a little after my time because I was starting to get into my 20s in the 90s there. So I think Pinky and the Brain was just a little bit after my time, so I never really got much into them.
Well, I was a younger kid, so I was watching that. I was watching Dexter's Laboratory. It's another great 90s.
Yeah.
Just being younger, I'd be watching different things than you. I had Garfield and Friends on in the morning, which was kind of carried over from the 88 cartoon, but it did carry over into the 90s a little bit. There was just a lot of things. I mean, they had Doug on Nickelodeon, which I like Doug. Doug was awesome. I can't believe SpongeBob came out. SpongeBob came out in 1999, which is kind of creepy. That damn thing is. My son still watches SpongeBob.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there were some. Go.
No, I was just gonna say that your son watches. My wife still turns it on to this day if we have the TV on and it comes up on the guide that SpongeBob is coming on. She'll put it on because she really got into it with my kids who are they're a little bit older for SpongeBob now, but they were into it when they were younger for sure.
Well, do you guys remember Rocco's Modern Life, or is that just like because I'm young? I'm younger than. No, I'm not young anymore, but I was a child in the 90s. So they had Rocco's Modern Life, which was hilarious. It was on Nickelodeon back in the day with Rocco and his next door neighbor Heifer. One thing that I absolutely despise, which I know was popular in the 90s, was Pokemon. That originally came out then.
Not a fan.
Futurama. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z was going to be something in the 90s too. I remember that being on. I just really wasn't into it. Were you guys into that?
I never got into it. No, not my cup of tea.
I played the Game Boy Advanced Dragon Ball Z game. Goku.
Yeah. My wife loved the Real Monsters.
Real Monsters.
The who?
Real Monsters. It was on Nickelodeon. Yeah. It was a good show, dude. Screw you guys.
Like Monsters Inc.
When did Undergrads come out?
I don't even know what the fuck Undergrounds is, but you know what I do remember? Captain Planet. He's our hero. He's going to take pollution down to zero. Now listen, I'm sure it was government funded, probably Jane Fonda and, Al Gore funding it, but Captain Planet was pretty awesome back in the day when I was a kid.
Right.
Rasta Mouse. That's a little bit later though. That's probably not in the 90s, but it's like a mouse that's a Rasta. That's pretty
Rasta.
funny. Rasta Mouse is like this is mouse is in a reggae band. I remember watching that, but I think it's more like later than the 90s.
Yeah, we're looking at 2011 for Rasta Mouse. Yeah. So
Aquanauts is also later.
a lot of good cartoons. I mean, they just don't make them like they used to. And I'm pretty sure people from this generation will be saying about that their cartoons. They don't make them like they used to anymore. It's just nostalgia is a very romantic thing, and everybody thinks about it in their own way, right? But I don't know. I look back at a very fond era for me on the cartoon.
Go in more depth about what your favorite ones are, man. Don't just don't let Wasted off track us with him going, hey, you came out 10 years ago?
No,
God
definitely.
damn Wasted.
Like I said, I was a huge, or still am a huge King of the Hill fan. And if you've listened to the show and seen anything of that, what we do on this show, we're all huge Simpsons fans. I love the Simpsons. I especially love, the early 90s Simpsons up until, like we talked about, season 10. I did get into Futurama the first time it came. Futurama has been rebooted a couple of times, but the original run of Futurama I thought was great because at the time it was stuff that Matt Groening really couldn't do on The Simpsons, so he kind of made this new show and had a little bit more free will to do that with. I'm with you, Brasky, on Family Guy. I do think it's a little overrated. I think the Family Guy tries too hard sometimes, and it just doesn't translate well for me. But don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good Family Guy episodes and a lot of very memorable episodes. And again, another cartoon that's been rebooted a couple times because it was canceled. What are you guys' thoughts on Samurai Jack?
I could give two shits. I remember Johnny Bravo back in the day. That was one I really remember. I remember Bobby's World with Howie Mandel. Samurai Jack is just like garbage. I mean, there's so many things that just came out that were just, man, like when Cartoon Network went with Adult Swim in the early 2000s, it was kind of like a renaissance period for cartoon shows. But like the 90s and then all the way to when Adult Swim started at the beginning were like the period of cartoons that were my generation. Now, the 80s and 70s had great cartoons. So did the 60s, Flintstones and the Jetsons. But nowadays, they just, like you were saying earlier, they just don't make them that good. Now, you said you're a big fan of Futurama. You said that you really love Beavis and Butt-Head. And why don't you tell us, some people might not know this. Why don't you just give us a little favorite Simpsons episodes real quick from the 90s?
Favorite Simpsons episodes?
From the 90s.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do like the one where Homer gets fat so he can work at home. That one's always a classic, where he's wearing the muumuu. I do like Hank Scorpio. I think probably Hank Scorpio is my favorite episode ever. Because they've got the hammock district in town, which is completely ridiculous. Let's see. The one where Bart goes on a road trip and he gets that fake driver's license, and they all have the wigs on, and they're jumping on the bed. I'm pretty sure I might be getting the episodes mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that's the same episode. Just brilliant. What about you, Brasky? I know you're a big Simpsons fan too. Did we lose Brasky?
I don't know. I used to watch The Simpsons after I came back from work.
Yeah.
For a bit. Like back in time for The Simpsons was the same.
What are your favorite episodes from the 90s, Wasted?
I like the one where Homer just like goes to it's about his like job at the nuclear plant.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one? And then there's also the one where is it Marge's sisters are smoking?
Yeah.
They both come into the
Wait, so just named like basic plot lines of every Simpsons episode of the 90s.
That's just what I remember from it. But I remember one episode really focusing on the Simpsons' like job at the nuclear plant and Burns.
Are you thinking the one with Frank Grimes, Grimy?
Grimy, yeah.
Yeah. I just remember him like eating donuts in the nuclear at his job. All he had to do was like press a button.
That's the one I was talking about, where he gets fat and gets to work from home, and he has that bobbing up and down bird that is hitting the yes or the no button on his computer, and it tips over and causes the meltdown at the plant. And the only way Homer can stop the meltdown is by jumping in the hole of the nuclear reactor of the air valve, of the nuclear reactor, and he's so fat that he can't get in it, and he just stops the air from coming out, the noxious gas from coming out.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you my 4 right now, Gates.
Yeah.
My favorite of all time is Homer's at bat.
Yeah,
that's my favorite of all time.
Good one.
My next one is You Only Move Twice with Hank Scorpio.
Yeah.
The next one's going to be Homer's Enemy. Okay, the one with Frank Grimes, Grammy.
Yeah.
And then finally, A Fish Called Selma with the great Troy McClure.
Great one. Great episode.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, we can do like a marathon podcast about or video or whatever we want to call what we do. Shit radio of me just talking Simpsons. We can really just go for it because at the time and place, there's a level of brilliance that's just never going to be met. It's like the appetite for destruction of cartoon shows. It's perfection. There's nothing wrong with it. You can watch it now. And then if you watch the old Simpsons episodes and you watch the ones now, you're like, oh, well, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the world, you know? You remember how it was in the 90s and 2000s before everything went to crap, and you're like, what happened? That's how I describe it. But I mean, the 90s had such amazing cartoons. I think we really touched on all of them tonight. Wasted, do you have anything else you want to add?
They killed Kenny.
That's right, they did. Liarz. Anything else you want to add? Instead of that, I think it's about that time.
Yeah, it's about that time. Thanks for listening, everybody. Really appreciate it. Hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you. On YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment. We will get back to you. We try to get back to everybody. Wasted and I trying to get back to all the comments. So we love the interaction. If you're not listening to us on YouTube, find us on Spotify. Find us on Rumble and wherever else you get your podcasts. And on that note.
Cheap radio.